Hey, we're live. All right. Now let me add Brett in here. All right.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Now, how do I make sure that the people can hear you?
It's a great question.
Brett, say something, and then the people let us know if you heard Brett.
Something. Chat is.
We're getting a lot. Brett, you're very quiet. Okay.
Very quiet. Am I better now? You might need to turn me up on your end.
Oh yeah, that would be logical. Okay, I'm up on that. You know, Mark makes this look so easy.
I mean, it helps that it's a thing that he does. We're just, we're the irregulars.
Ugh.
Hello, chat.
Hi, chat. All right. Let me see what happens if I turn on my camera now. Will that break something? Yes, it is not working. Cool.
Well, stream didn't break, so that's...
Well, I mean, we got that going for me, so...
Can you stream your desktop and just have it be Discord?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Brett's at about equal volume now. Wonderful.
Oh, perfect. For those wondering why Brett or why I am the only one in the picture, it is because I am trying to figure that one out.
We're working on it.
Contrary to popular belief, we actually don't know what we're doing.
Indeed. And it turns out that 7 minutes was not enough time to learn how to use all the dream stuff.
Yeah. All right, we've got a Brett here. Okay, well, at least we can see Brett now. We can see me. We can see.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. We got that going
You're just
for
down
us.
in the corner.
Yes, I am. Where I belong.
This is disorienting to say the least, but hello, everyone. We're here this evening. As the perceptive among you have noticed, there is no Mark this evening. Unfortunately, Mark is currently on vacation in Barcelona.
Actually, no, he's in Italia now.
I thought he was back from Italy at this point. Regardless, Mark is over in Europe for a wedding, but we wanted to have a stream, so there was some content on the channel. We put out a Q&A, or Leighton put out a Q&A a couple days ago. We'll be going through that as kind of the structure of the stream, but we will also be watching chat for particularly good questions, so how about it?
All right. You know what? We got a good question right out of the gate. Somebody's coming at us right for the feels.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Oh, I can't minimize you. Damn it. Okay, well, I'm just going to have to read around this.
Okay.
Damn it.
This is the problem that Mark has because he's 4 monitors.
Yeah, I only have 2. What the hell? All right.
I only have 1, like a plebeian.
Peasant. Okay, somebody asking, do an East Coast photo charter. We have some East Coast places that are on our list that we know we have been told / threatened to come out. So...
In fact, one of them, I believe, currently leads the pack for what is the potential next charter.
Yeah, you know, maybe get a little bit too furious.
So we'll see on that one.
Yeah. All right.
We've got a couple folks have asked where's Heist. We just said he's off at a wedding, so it'll just be us this evening.
Bastard's on vacation. You just got us and our boring backgrounds. So
pretty much.
Yeah. All right.
We will attempt to be entertaining, but no promises.
But hey, you're here, and some people have already given money, so joke's on them. All right.
Yeah, that's the other one on top chats. We won't guarantee that we'll get to all the top chats, but if you give a top chat, we'll try to remember to get to it. And if we don't, then thank you. Know that we appreciate it.
Yes, we greatly appreciate you. All right. So first question is, well, we got questions that are for both of us, for just Brett, and then for me, and I figure we can just go through those and pick out the interesting ones. So first question, somebody's coming right for the throat. What would our lives be like if we hadn't met Mark?
That's a difficult one to say. Honestly, I don't know. The bigger question is, what would our lives be like without the museum, I think? And Mark is sort of intrinsically tied to that experience for both of us in a way that it's difficult to separate them.
Yeah.
But strictly as a not knowing this person, how different would either of our lives be? I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be making this stupid stuff, that you can buy at heisttrains.shopify.com. Not that anybody's here to shill the merch. Yeah, I totally wouldn't be doing this, the YouTube stream right now, but also like I've developed a skill set of making merchandise and learning all about e-commerce, and now that's led me to have my own separate model train thing. So that objectively makes no sense.
Separate-ish. You did call it Hyacinth.
Honestly, I'm kind of regretting that now because I can't get people to get the distinction between them.
I did say this about a year ago.
You see, you can bring
not
up
to be that guy, but also being that guy.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Brett.
Just an asshole.
Just an asshole. Yeah, I mean, shit. We got to fire like on the Durango and Silverton in part, getting back to that museum Mark connection. You got to run on the DNS, right?
Yeah, that was really cool. We, not knowing Mark, we wouldn't have had the heist charter, so the three of us probably would not have. Well, that's not true. We still would have potentially fired a little bit like the day prior.
But like, would we have stayed at the museum as much, without that friendship there? Would the museum be as big a part of our lives? Because for me now, going to the museum is a lot of it's about just hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough to say. You got to remember, we have kind of an offset as far as the museum mark is concerned. A large portion of my museum tenure, Mark, was back in Seattle working for BN and then Sun Transit. So I've been at the museum for 11 years now. Mark was there for the first 2 years-ish and then gone for the next 5 or 6, I think.
Well, that's valid. Valid concern.
It's like it's a difficult one to say. It's a very good question. I wish I had a better answer for it, but it's very esoteric, and it's one of those that, like butterfly effect, it could have a massive effect. It could also have changed very little, relatively speaking.
Fair enough. I think that's a fair question.
Chat saying, let's be honest, without Mark, one or both of you would have had the villain arc. That's where you're wrong. It's Mark that has the villain arc.
Well, I was the one that was exiled and went off to the chum bucket of preservation groups. So I did it.
This is true.
I went off to 2 chum buckets. I got kicked out of one chum bucket and then went to the second chum bucket.
This is true. You were exiled from the museum briefly.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
That's another story for another day. Somebody, top chat from Virtual Railfan, giving $10. Question for me, the merch man. Bill for passenger car sets. Okay, so I talked with Jay, the owner of Sunset, last weekend at the train show, and these are the next car. The narrow gauge stuff is the next car to go into tooling. So I can say that we're probably going to be expecting the Bajaros and Chavanos and San Juans and all those from various formats to show up probably some point in the fall. Like the original target was summer, but realistically, I think if these showed up in October, that would be impressive. So
there was a certain company that promised HON3Ks 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
15 years ago. Yeah, so Sunset's...
So you're doing all right.
Yeah, Sunset's doing better than other people, as in I have now seen things that they have produced recently and will be producing with the same team. And I can guarantee that these things will come into existence. We will shitpost our way into reality, as is our brand.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's a Glenn!
It's a Glenn. Hi there, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
Sorry we don't have anything more interesting but our mugs to look at this evening. So it's going to be a slow stream.
Well, I've got some artwork to show off for some SD70s that are going to be coming later. But I'm going to we're doing our first...
those are going to be public.
First ES&D locomotive. Yeah, they go live on the website on Friday. But I've been given permission from Broadway Limited to show them off. So you're going to get to see some delightful 3-striped bullshit. But okay, question for you, Brett. What is your favorite car of all time? And
Favorite car, automobile?
well, the person didn't specify. So honestly, I'm willing to let this go wherever your ADHD takes it.
Auburn 832 boat tail for favorite automobile.
That is a correct answer.
That or Duesenberg SJ, particularly like a cabriolet or a convertible coupe.
Now
body on an SJ.
Now keep in mind, if you have that much money to buy one of those cars, you can pay somebody else to maintain it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't ask me, what's my favorite car that I could realistically afford.
Yeah, realistically afford or realistically own and maintain into perpetuity. Because yeah, exotic classic cars like that are their own world of weird.
Those are cars that get into a care and feeding level similar to steam locomotives.
Yes, and have the same kind of weird cults of personality around them and very weird personalities. And it seems to be like, of the folks I've met that own those kind of cars, they fall in a spectrum of cool gay guys who, well, they never married, so they just buy all the cool toys they want. And holy crap, are you racist? And there doesn't really seem to be much of an in-between. There's not a lot of normies in there.
There's no price margin for it, I suppose.
I don't know. So, this is a good question for both you and me. What was one lesson when working around steam locomotives firsthand you had to learn the easy or the hard way? First lesson I learned the easy way was why the fuck they got rid of these things.
That is a big one that you learn right up front. It does say that on the tin.
Yeah, the thing is you have to read the tin and accept that what the tin tells you is true.
Yes, which is easier said than done.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest fundamental lessons that I learned in my early years with steam locomotives and still grapple with is that there's no such thing as too tight until it's too tight.
And then you pivot into too loose.
Yeah, very quickly. But there's not really such a thing as a torque spec for a lot of the stuff on steam locomotives, and it's basically just as tight as you can get it, but not too tight. You don't want to break it, and you also want to be able to get it apart at some point in the future. Easy to say, easy to understand in concept. In execution, that is sometimes very difficult, and it's problematic because if you get that balance wrong, it results in very dangerous things happening potentially. So
yeah, I do love it when people ask me what the torque spec is on a steam locomotive, and the answer is yes, unless it's very specific things, and then you just give it the slight and don't touch it. And well, also those are hydrostatic lubricators, and you're just praying they don't blow up in your face.
Hydrostatics are. On the note of hydrostatics, I got a new shiny.
Oh yeah. Tell us about your hydrostatical.
I got a little. The camera's having difficulty focusing on it.
Maybe
if I put it right next to my face.
Gotta be quicker than that. Put it in front of your face. Your face is now a hydrostatic. Holy shit, that worked.
I am the hydrostatic. Hey, that did it. That's a little Detroit single feed. I think it's a 1 pint or a 2 pint hydrostatic lubricator.
So we're gonna go to the Winchester and have a pint.
Yes.
Pint of valve oil.
Pint of valve oil. Jimmy says when righty tighty becomes righty loosey. Yes, that's problematic, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, also, usual public safety announcement. Impact guns, don't use them.
No, don't use ugga-duggas on boiler stuff.
Yeah.
There are acceptable uses for ugga-duggas on steam engines. Anything that goes into the boiler is not one of them.
Yeah, don't be the reason the FRA sends out an encyclical and you have to get a crap ton of skin grafts. No. Somebody asked, Ethan Locke asked about, have we seen the latest trailer for A Bumpy Ride? The release date trailer came out. I have not, but I tell you what, I am so excited for A Bumpy Ride. It looks so twee and cozy and adorable, and I know some of the folks that are working on it, and it's going to be a good game.
It is. I'm with you there. I haven't seen the trailer that came out today yet. I didn't know one came out today. I'll have to go in search of that.
You know what trailer I did see today, though? Coyote versus Acme.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm excited we finally get to see it.
Yes. I didn't realize that John Cena is in it. And you know what? He is a cartoon character. He is a Looney Tune. It's going to fucking work. Do, 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 do. All right. There needs to be a certain charter in Michigan lands due to a Mikado coming back in the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah, that is... Huckleberry is on our list because even if we can't go play with something with God's Worst Trailing Truck, that U.S. Army 10-wheeler is pretty freaking cool.
Get out to Huckleberry. I've never been out that way before. It seems like a neat place, though.
Yeah. My visit to Michigan checked off the box. But I did not really get to experience Michigan. I did a tri-state steam trip with the 765 a couple years ago, so I got to have lunch in Michigan. Was it barely Michigan? Yes. All right.
One asking, will I see you guys at NMRA this year? Very possibly.
See you at NMRA?
At least. Yes, potentially, because where is NMRA this year, Leighton?
Right. Pardon me, boy, I forgot.
Correct. Very possibly, not sure though. Are you planning to go on Hyacinth business?
No, I do not have any interest in going to Tennessee in the summer.
Yeah, I think it's later. I think it's September or somewhere in there.
But you know what? I bet it falls the same weekend as I have tickets to go see Sturgill Simpson in Denver. So, by the way, you want to go see Sturgill Simpson in Denver? I got 4 tickets.
If I'm not in Chattanooga, sure.
Okay, cool. We rock and roll.
We will see. I know Mark has made mention about going down for NMRA. I'm not sure if he's that is more than 3 weeks in the future, so therefore it is not prioritized in Mark's brain at this point.
That's fair. Actually, you know what, Brett, you have the Q&A stuff. Why don't you pull up a question and ask from my pool and ask me, so I'm not cherry picking my own stuff.
Yeah, you're fine. I need to find that.
Oh God! Somebody said we inspired them to join a class 1. We failed horribly.
Oh, why would you do that?
No. Here's what you do. You go to school.
Want to, like, jump off a bridge or something?
Yeah. Here's what you do. You go to school. You get a cushy desk job, and then you beat your brains into the wall for 40 years. But whenever it's snowing, you look outside the window and go, I'm not in that.
That is kind of a nice feeling, in
Yeah.
truth. Question for Leighton. How much progress have you made on designing the new layout? And sort of as a tie-in that'll add on to that, how's the move going?
Well, the move is going. My desk is the cleanest part of, or what you see right now is in fact the cleanest part of my space. And I've got some sketches knocked out. I have the space marked off in the basement, so like that is clear. But I've got some ideas. I'm sure I'll be posting some designs. I saved pretty much all of the old layout, so that's going to be able to be repurposed. The idea is that
some of the parts that we broke.
Well, lower level is going to be pretty much all standard gauge with a little dual gauge interchange. The evil one on my shoulder is telling me that I should build the Salida barrel transfer in HO scale as a 3D printed kit to be sold through Hyacinth. And that would be pretty freaking cool. And I would make 20 people really happy. And yeah, but are you ever going to build it? How many out of these 20 people, how many of them are going to get built?
Well, it's a model railroad kit in a niche narrow gauge market, so I would say roughly 5% of all produced.
Cool. So the demo I build and then one that you build out of spite when I make fun of you for never having built it.
Correct.
Cool. Yeah, so really what I want to be able to do with this next layout is run some standard gauge stuff, have some big curves. I've already said like 36-inch mainline radius because I have brass. For me, a lot of the enjoyment of model railroading is just watching trains go around. Like every now and then I'll get into switching, but just sitting there, with friends. Assume the position. Especially beneficial with your heisttrains.com koozie.
Twice, folks. Twice in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We're on pace here.
I know. Hey, somebody asked a good question on here. What extinct locomotive would we like to see new built back to life? Personal mechanical pain points are irrelevant. So this does open the door to streamliners.
Yeah. Well, if pain points are, in that case, duck for dinner. In seriousness, a J3 Hudson, because that's kind of I feel like that's the correct answer. Everybody kind of agrees that is the correct answer. But the T1 is going to be really cool when they finish that.
You see, okay, sorry, you mean when we finish it? Look at me, I'm working on the T1 with FMW, blah, 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 blah.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about there. When the T1 gets done, it's going to be really cool.
And it might stop.
I really hope it does. for personal reasons.
Yeah. For me, it depends on, it really is context dependent. Like, do I want something that I fire up once every 6 months and run around in my backyard and then take to like Durango or something every 5 years?
Montezuma.
Yeah, then the answer is Montezuma. Do I want something that actually is going to have a job? That's a completely different story. And the answer is probably not Montezuma. It would have to be like a really specific context where you're just going back and forth or around on somewhere that's pretty flat. But it would take something pretty specific for Montezuma to make sense. Or you could just say, screw it, we're building a steam locomotive. We're not doing this because it makes sense. We're not doing this because it was easy. We're doing this because we thought it would be easy.
Yes. And because we can, allegedly.
A
question from Jordan Freeman. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, the whole because we can thing hasn't stopped us so far, and we are deep into plankton territory on this one, so.
I didn't think I'd
get this far.
I see no reason to stop. Jordan Freeman asking, has Steam Loco ever had its throttle stuck open? It's had to happen sometime. Yes. That does happen every now and again. It happened with 91 about 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
Leighton, were you present for that, or was that during your exile?
That was during the Polar from Hell that I made a very well-timed exit.
Yeah, that was slightly before the Polar from Hell. That was coming off of the annual inspection over the summer. We had removed the throttle and the throttle plug so that you can access the boiler and do the annual visual inspection of the interior of the barrel. And we had reinstalled all that, and when we put the dome lid back on, well, that's what it was. The stud sticking out the top of the dome lid that holds the cosmetic cover on had to be shortened, and so it got torched off. And unbeknownst to us, a little piece of welding the torch slag somehow worked its way down onto the sealing surface of the throttle plug. And when we steamed the engine and went to go do test runs for that Polar, the throttle stuck open and the engine was blowing steam all over the shop. We couldn't get it to shut. It never went anywhere because we couldn't build pressure with that substantial of a leak in the boiler, but it was a pain in the butt. Yeah. I am reminded of a Jack story out of Chama. Were you ever told that one, Leighton?
It has been a hot minute since I've heard Jack's story, so please, Jack me.
The long and short of it was an engine that was at pressure came back off of the daily train, and it had something fail. It might have been the linkage itself had failed on the throttle. This was years ago, by the way. So nobody's... This is people that are not there currently, very different time, very different place.
Many of whom have drunk themselves to death.
Say again?
Many of whom have drunk themselves to death in the meantime, so...
Maybe so. Something had gone wrong with the throttle such that they had an engine in the Chama shop at operating pressure with the throttle stuck basically wide open, and the hostler, who was a mutual friend of ours, Jack, had to sit there in the cab and babysit and click the bar forward a little bit and then back a little bit and then forward a little bit and then back a little bit because they couldn't get it to sit still. So they were just kind of going to try and get steam out of the barrel and get the whole system to calm down a little bit.
Good fucking Lord.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
Can the throttle stick open? Yes, it can. It does happen occasionally, even though they are designed to not do that, and common practice is to maintain them in such a way that they cannot do that, it can happen.
Okay. All right. Next question is for me and Brett. We got two good ones here, but you know what? We're running the stream, so we can do both of them. Brett, if you were a locomotive, what would you be?
Probably something long and stiff-necked and kind of ugly looking. Rio Grande F81.
With or with? Sorry, you don't have much of a butt, so you're getting the itty bitty tender.
I get the little Vanderbilt tender.
Itty bitty tender.
Itty bitty space. Yeah. What about you?
I'm gonna go with something really specific, kind of pointless and arcane, and not good for much actual tonnage work. Does that sound fair? Little harsh,
What
but
would that make you? Yeah, what would that make you?
I mean, it kind of feels like Montezuma is the answer there.
Yeah, I could see that.
It sounded like a good idea at the time. Or maybe like one of those 222s.
Oh,
like,
there you go.
Like
yeah.
a CP Huntington. Yeah. Yeah.
You said archaic and weird, and it might just be because I see the updates on Facebook. I immediately thought Crampton. I don't know why my mind went there. It wasn't in reference to you specifically. It's just that was what came into my mind when you said those.
I mean, randomly European influenced also fits me. So
this, you're not wrong.
All right. Next question that's for both of us. We're the substitute teachers. That means we're wheeling out the TV. We're wheeling out an ancient CRT TV on a cart that's been there since the beginning of time.
We're watching Bill Nye, everyone.
You're already
teacher
just...
is hung over in the back of the room, but you don't know what that means yet because we're all kids, so we're just going to sit there and watch Bill Nye.
The question is, what movie will we be playing? And you've already gone into it with Bill Nye, which is not a bad answer.
I feel like it was always Bill Nye or Magic School Bus, almost without exception.
Magic School Bus was a classic. I remember watching... do you remember that Disney American Legends thing that had like the Paul Bunyan cartoon? And
yes.
Yeah, that is like a core memory of 2002.
Yeah, we never got to watch that in school. I had it on VHS though, which was wonderful.
I know. With the big plastic case, or did you have the little cardboard sleeve?
It was the big plastic case.
Fancy.
Like crinkly white one with the kind of egg crate pattern on the inside. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Colorado kid, remember for 4 months. Question: where's the brake wheel that we had in the Monarch wreck exploration video? Probably still up on Monarch. We pulled it out of the rock so we could bring it up to the road and show it to Mark because he had injured his foot that day or something.
Mm-hmm.
But we left it up there. It's still presumably off the side of the road at the wreck site with the trucks and everything else that you see in the video.
We chucked it back down the hillside, and if somebody else was dumb enough to grab it and drag it up...
We didn't so much chuck it. We were gentle to make sure that we didn't explode it further. Like, we didn't want to just totally name it.
Yeah, it went down the hillside. It's going to take somebody else.
It went down the hillside, and it is presumably still there.
Yeah, so... if I am pulling out the AV cart and I want a mindless movie that provides no educational value, but is...
Oh, we're back to the movie.
Well, I didn't get to answer the movie question.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were doing independent answers.
Yeah, this
you
is
seem
questions...
to corroborate Bill Nye.
No, I said I also experienced Bill Nye.
I see.
But I would pick... If I'm feeling spicy, I'm going to go with Down Periscope. Just because you mentioned it earlier. For like high schoolers, okay?
For high schoolers? The movie was written by high schoolers.
Exactly.
Consumed by high schoolers.
They will be entertained by Rob Schneider in pain. I can guarantee that.
Schneider is a steeper. It is a wonderful movie. Go see Down Periscope.
It is delightful. I have no notes. Let's
I got to show a coworker of mine Rat Race recently for the first time.
That is... Go. Commence. Haste.
Go. Because he's closest to the door.
Yes. All right. Question for Brett. Has there been a time when being the tallest three-quarter has played a significant advantage for you?
Frequently. One that comes to mind is the train show was 2 weeks ago, and it's nice to just walk into the expo hall and go, oh, there's Mark and Leighton. They're over there.
Yeah. Likewise, it's, where's Brett? Oh, yeah, it was over there.
Yeah. Oh, look to the skies.
Yeah.
Question for Leighton. Can you explain why in detail HON3 is the superior model railroading scale? Superior to SN3, that is.
Oh, because I entirely disagree with that premise. SN3 is the ideal scale. I believe that just because I don't practice it doesn't mean that it's not wrong, or that it just doesn't mean it's not the correct answer. Like, I firmly believe that American model railroading made a mistake. We went with 3 different scales, N, HO, and O. HO takes up 70% of the market, N scale takes up 20, and O and everybody else is fighting for the last 10%. I think that we should have gone with 2 scales. S scale is the large one, and TT scale as the small one, because you can still get decent sized curves in TT in a small space. You can build a 4x8 layout in TT scale and it doesn't look stupid. For all 5 people out there that are modeling American TT scale. But I'm very excited to see what the Brits are doing with TT 120. Brett, did you see Hornby announced a Black 5 today?
I did see that. That's very nice looking.
Yes.
I don't need another scale. I really don't need another scale. I did see that Ellis Clark put out some production sample imagery of their upcoming pugs in 7mm, which, oh, those look so good.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the question, HON3 is a good scale. Really, there aren't any bad scales. They each just have their own benefits and drawbacks. I think, and a lot of it too just comes down to when they were introduced, and that's how they got popularized. Like by the time the 70s came along with N scale, they could produce drives, make stuff that actually ran well. And it had the advantage of the size of being small.
Well, it ran.
Well, it ran okay. It ran okay. It ran. It technically now it runs great. Now in scale stuff.
I almost sort of wish I was in N rather than HO a lot of the time.
Yeah. If you want to model big modern stuff, or just big F-off passenger trains and not have to have the La Mesa Club, N scale's the way to go. But getting back to HON3, HON3 is a great scale. SN3 is a better scale. I think it is really the ideal scale because it's just big enough where you get more detail, and it's just small enough where you can still use reasonable sized curves.
For those that don't really have a reference of SN3 because they maybe haven't seen it before, it's 3-foot gauge equipment that winds up being about the size of an HO scale large steam engine.
Yeah. Can run
so
on
you wind up having a K36 or a K37, and it's about the size of an HO scale Northern or a Mountain or something like that.
Yeah. So really, it's not so much it's not so much like the particular scaling. It's a model train that is kind of this size works out well. It's kind of more of a
nominally Snickers bars sized.
Yeah, somewhere between a Snickers bar and a tall boy beer can is the happy space.
I'd buy that.
God, Americans will use anything but the metric system.
Better believe it. Real quick one that we missed from Solaris. Did y'all hear about the steamer that derailed in the UK a few weeks ago? I did see something about that. I didn't think it was that long ago. Did you see this, the S160?
Yeah, I thought it was over the weekend, and I saw a lot of...
I thought it was too.
I saw a lot of good memes of, so it's not coming then.
Clarkson! Yes.
We got another good one in here. What never-built railroad do you think should have been built for or has the best justification for existing?
California high-speed rail.
Okay, well...
Is that too controversial an answer?
I think they were asking about historic, but yeah, California
I think
has.
they were too, but I stand by my answer in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That was never built.
I'm gonna go with the
there's
Atlantic.
A classic answer of the. Go ahead.
The Atlantic and Pacific Tunnel. Like, if they had managed to poke a hole underneath Loveland Pass and get the train into Breckenridge that way, that would have been such a going up Clear Creek Canyon. Even though you had the loop and you had the weather getting utterly shit after Plume Hill, you would have had a much more direct route to Denver.
Yeah.
So that's the one I buy.
Even honestly, a better alignment in many ways than the Tunnel District and the Moffat route.
Oh, yeah.
The Moffat route is incredible. It's a feat of engineering. It's amazing. But my God, what a railroad that is.
Yeah. Like the general, from an engineering perspective, my reaction every time I go up Rollins Pass is just why? Why would you do this? Why?
We still need to do Rollins at some point because Mark has not seen it.
He's not seen it. And you know what? You can go into the Wise where they used to turn the rotaries, and that's a great place to go camping. You can camp in a mountain of cinders and then kick the dirt and find old tobacco cans. Because, how can you tell this is where they parked the rotaries? Huh. Would it be the mountain of cinders or the old Prince Albert cans?
I was going to say the mountain of bean cans where they sat bored all night.
Yeah,
we have a Bandan.
Hi, Bandan.
It's so difficult to say in the chat. Hi, Bandan. He says, "Greetings, fellow civil engineer and honorary civil engineer." You mean I'm a faker? Fake civil engineer.
You're a doubter.
You're a doubter. You don't believe.
You don't believe in the Green Book.
I don't believe in the Green Book. The concrete scares me.
But come on, the AASHTO guidance on geometric design of roadways and highways, it's pretty great. Zach is here, and he's saying that NN3 looking ominously onto every other 3-foot scale from the darkness. Okay, NN3.
Remember that thing we said about N scale and getting drives that run reasonably well?
They're not at that point yet.
NN3 will get there at some point. It's not there yet.
There's kind of a function of physics and how small we can actually make things economically.
I mean, they did say that about computers in the 80s, so I don't doubt that.
True. We could
probably see reasonable NN3 drives at some point, at least from a possible standpoint. Will it ever be mass-produced? Probably not. I
mean, you could do white passing Yukon diesel era, fire up the 3D printer, and just have shovel noses that are on Z-scale F-unit chassis.
Sure.
That'd be hot. And hey,
I like the white pass.
Yeah. Also, Century of Steam Plug here. Oh, the white pass shovel nose units, dressed Pennsylvania Railroad for the Keystone map.
I don't think that's out yet.
I think it has been released, just only on the Patreon. Only on the Patreon. So this is subscribe to the Century of Patreon. Yeah, do that, and
that's
you can
definitely what we meant to do.
New build PS4 Southern PS4 Pacific. You're not wrong. That is in fact a good answer. Green Crescent. Do we have a meow meow?
We do. Is my mic on?
Yes. I see tail.
Do you? Oh, there she is. Hang on.
Lily.
The little old lady.
We have a cat alert. We have a cat alert.
The meow meow. She's a very old lady.
Yeah.
She turned 19 this month, chat.
Yay.
She's doing great for all those curious.
Yeah. Somebody also has asked a couple times about GP60s. Relatively modern 4-axle power. Actually, come to think of it, are GP60s like the last new production 4-axle power from EMD? Because there wasn't a Jeep 70, and that's the whole thing. Is like the number corresponds with the generation.
What do you consider to be new power, and who do you consider to be EMD?
That's a very valid question.
Because you get stuff like, in terms of road power and what you're thinking of, I think so. But you get stuff like the MP15s and the GP20s, the later GP20s.
Yeah, that are just
and then these days you have a lot of like rebuild programs that are sort of pseudo END. Bandan just bless you, Lily. Bandan just pointed out GP22 Eco.
Yeah, we are kind of at a point now where we're not actually building any new locomotives for freight power. We're just continuously rebuilding old stuff.
Kind of, yeah. There is some new stuff that comes in, but very, very, very seldom.
Do you mean like Siemens Chargers that get packed with snow?
There are those.
The
big vent in the side is a choice.
Yeah. Are either of us aware of the Union Pacific proposal to build up through Clear Creek instead of Wyoming? I have read about that, but I think it was something that was very quickly realized. No.
Yeah, the overland route is, I would say, the single best means of getting train from east of the Rockies to west of the Rockies, sort of centrally.
The only
you have a little bit of silliness in Weber Canyon, but very, very little. And other than that, it is a very direct, very good route.
Yeah, the only other one I would say is up there, is in the same tier as it, is the Sunset route. And that's just by virtue of the fact of there's no crazy bullshit mountain stuff. There's not a tunnel district. There's
right.
It's
just very southerly.
It's just mostly in Mexico. All right.
Hardduck says hashtag SD40-2 never quits.
Hi, Trip. Somebody asking us what's the difference between laying prefabricated model railroad tracks and hand laying railroad tracks. Brett, have you ever tried hand laying?
No, I've not actually.
Yeah, I have an O scale. It is very doable in O scale. It is just a tedious pain in the ass when you're also trying to be extra and you're using O scale fish plates and doing 4 spikes to a tie. But it's also
a lot.
But it's also very zen.
The railroad doesn't bother with that half the time.
Yeah. It's it's fun. It kind of, the joke is you can either there are some folks who will try and do everything, like hand lay tracks, scratch build structures, scratch build locomotives, like do everything yourself. And that's cool, but maybe not if you want to actually have a model train layout.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I'm going to go back. Wait, I asked you a question, Brett, I think. So now it's your turn to ask me a question.
I will in a second. I've got a cat.
Oh, no. Your camera's gone.
Is it? Where'd it go? Oh, sorry, Denny.
I don't know.
It's on for me in Discord.
Okay. Is my computer just randomly oh, there we are. Okay, cool.
I'm back.
Oh, I see what happened. I closed out the window and then it closed out. So that's my bad. All right.
Question for Leighton. Have you thought about doing 3D printing for either your own layout for something or for something for the store to sell? Do you plan to stay in HON3 or are you going to branch out and go something bigger or even something smaller?
So 3D printing stuff, I actually have a 3D printer over there that I'm learning how to use. It's like I can do 3D modeling, and I've done 3D printing in the past, but I've never been the one that's on the 3D printer, and so there is a learning curve with that. Yeah, no, we've got plans for stuff that will be going both on Mark's store. Oh, Steam Fan Scott, 50 Heist memberships. Thank you.
Shit, we don't have the birds.
Oh, no. Quick. All right. That's the best you're getting out of us, folks.
I apologize. Who was it that sent all those?
I don't know, but they're
Steve Fan Scott. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we cannot bird you at this time. Chat, send some birds.
Yeah, please. You have the technology and the emojis. So,
indeed.
Yeah. There's going to be more stuff. Honestly, for me, a lot of 3D printing stuff that I end up doing is coming out of a place of oh, I need a thing. Well, if I need this, other people might need this. So, and Jimmy De La Cog has reminded me that he is working on some pretty freaking cool 3D printed things. So,
That he is.
yeah, that pesky bastard and his interurban fetish. So,
Chat will think this is cool. I was talking to Jimmy recently. Did you see the stock car he had at the show?
I have one somewhere here. It is so cool.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
the Drop Bottom stock car.
He gave me one to put together.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that is so
Chat,
fucking
this
cool.
This is something that the standard gauge CNS had. It was a stock car that, stock cars are really only useful during stock movements,
twice a year,
which is seasonal rushes. Yeah. So what do you do with it the rest of the time? Well, if you're the CNS, you put hatches in the roof, and the floor drops away on either side from the sill, and you can use it as a beat or a large aggregate hopper for the rest of the year. It is a drop-bottom stock car.
And you can guess how well that worked in the long term by how many of those survive.
Yeah, you would really hope that you don't drop the bottom when it is full of cows.
That is a very rapid way to produce ground beef, but not the kind that you want. So,
not really.
Sir Liv has asked me a question that triggers me. Thoughts on HON30/009? This is
thoughts on HOE.
Same freaking thing. It's just another. It just makes your eBay search results weird when you're looking for hoe. No, HON30/009. HON30 in the American market is freaking slept on. Bachmann did amazing stuff with ON30 and then stopped before they could get to the thing that would have blown ON30 out of the water. Because the ON30, it's awesome. It runs on HO scale track. That reduces the barrier to entry for a lot of people.
It was the first scale that I ever had for that reason.
But it's still O scale. It's still big. HON30 and scale drives are good enough now. You can have small stuff. You could model the entirety of the Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington in a freaking garage to scale, if you had that. So, like, big Barbie dream house, whatever, stretch goal. Holy fuck, if I make it that far, that'll be amazing. But I would love to see a line of HON30 stuff produced. I think if you did one of the Portland Company engines, 3 or 4 freight cars, and a couple coaches and a caboose, in addition to producing some track like Code 55, not the Pico Code 80 stuff, but
Code 55.
Yeah, something that actually looks more right. With like American tie spacing and whatever. Have such a freaking killing, because between the main industrial stuff, freelance stuff, like Gilpin Tramway,
a really neat scale.
How many people?
Bachmann is kind of getting into it, except it's all British.
Yes, because the Brits are nuts and they have a interesting model train market, and they're just making cool stuff, and it helps that there's more to like that is the default narrow gauge over there.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I love it. I have a little HON30 layout that's down in the basement that I'll show off at some point. It's great. I think it's the biggest thing right now that's missing from. If I had to pick like one big thing out of the hobby right now that is an opportunity that nobody is doing, so far as I'm aware, it's HON30.
Yeah, it is. It is really cool. It has a lot of potential.
Yeah. All right. That triggered me. And so getting back to a question for both of us, what is your favorite heist moment?
And this is a weird one because it's not a moment with Mark. It is specifically a heist moment. It's a moment that is interlinked with the brand TM. I would have to think on that. Maybe we circle back to that one.
Okay.
I would have to really think on that one. There's one for you here, though, that we teed up a little bit earlier, and that is, are there any models of locomotives in the works for either Hyacinth Models or the Heist store?
Gonna make me share my screen.
All right. That was a slow ball right over the plate.
Yeah, you don't know what's actually been teed up, folks. All right, we're going to figure out how to change which screen I'm sharing. Stop sharing.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. I'm going to act like a freaking boomer on... All right, we're here.
Sound like Dr. Evil when you said that.
Yeah.
Freaking boomers on freaking Zoomer calls.
All right, here it is, folks. Here is the first locomotive that will be brought to you by Heist Models. It is a Rio Grande. It is an SD70 Ace, a modern locomotive post Rio Grande, lettered in three or painted and lettered in 3-stripe. We're doing 2 road numbers, and like I said, this is from Broadway Limited. Doing 2 road numbers, 1928, 1930, the years the K37s were built, and we think these are going to be a good seller. So everybody does a Rio Grande Fubi that looks like a tunnel motor, but nobody does a Rio Grande Fubi that looks like an RS3. You know, like a normal person. All right.
Do you have the other version at hand?
I do. Hey, Brett, what's the most stupid thing I could do? The objectively most stupid thing I could do.
I appreciate that it's numbered 420.
We're doing 2 road numbers. They're numbered 420 and 422. So yeah, full send, sublettered. You can see the ES&D right here. These will be going live on the website on Friday. So
people have been asking for ES&D motive power for a long time, and some crazies out there have even made their own stuff, which is awesome to see. But now it is something that can be bought.
It is, and we were going to do another diesel first. We have a steam project that we're working on in the background, with Broadway Limited, which I cannot say enough good words about them. They are great to work with. They have been super flexible and super into all the stupid ideas because apparently they're financially viable. So we are working on a project it's a modification on their 280 that'll make it pretty grand, if you catch my drift. So there will be an ES&D steam locomotive probably coming in 27 or 28, but this will be coming sometime later this year, possibly beginning of next. Hopefully we'll have these before Christmas, but we'll see. So HO scale first, obviously, but N scale is on our radar. We've got our first N scale boxcars that are still available for pre-order that should be showing up soon. So, or should be showing up, I think, in June is what I was told. That's what I heard last. So we will do N scale at some point in the future. Right now we're doing HO, SD70 Ace. We've got some other plans for locomotives in the future, but this is our first one here. I present to you the East Salida and Denver 420. And somebody asking about Rapido. Yes, we are working on some stupid projects with Rapido, like our amazing cabooses that are still available from heisttrains.com. So we're working on some really cool stuff. This will be released on the website on Friday. So, Brett, do you have any thoughts, comments, concerns about?
No, not really. I think it's cool. It's like I said, it's something that people have been asking for basically since the beginning of, since the first boxcar went live on the website.
Yeah.
It is something that people have wanted, and I hope that they sell well. It's tricky because they're sort of comparatively high price point locomotives, but that means that they're nice. We don't want to be producing merch that is just crap and poor quality junk with a logo slapped on the side of it. These are nice locomotives that will keep well. They sound good. They'll look sort of at home on any layout, as home as any Fubi fantasy scheme ever does. But yeah. I'm really excited for them. I think they're really neat looking.
And you know what? It's a die-cast Broadway Limited engine. So if you have an intruder and you need to cudgel them to death with this, it's going to be fine, and the details will all be perfectly preserved. So, and we will be... We'll be having 2 variants of each of these, one with Paragon sound system and then one in their stealth. which is just straight DC, no sound, but has a, I believe, 21-pin plug on it. So you'll be able to get these DCC and set. Oh, God damn it. I made a horrible mistake.
I'm pretty sure that's an SD69 rather than an SD70.
It's too late to change the artwork. No.
Now you're gonna upset Leighton. He's bummed that he can't do it now.
Damn it.
I do also like the Stampy JCat comment of ES&D 70 ACE.
Yeah. So yeah, this is what we got going on. Like, why? Sorry, last question was too topic, which is hoping to get some honest insight. Why is it like that? Oh, I guess some people here are not familiar.
He's got a civil engineering question for Leighton. What were the city planners on when they designed the Colorado Springs Union and Woodman intersection?
I am not actually. Let me pull up that intersection here just to verify that I'm thinking about the right one. And unfortunately, with a lot of on the time period, the answer, it's a fun mixed bag.
Or laudanum. Don't forget laudanum.
Oh, yeah, or the cocaine. Lots of cocaine. Woodman and Union, Colorado.
That's these is just the two of us again. We should do like Ask an Engineer.
Woodman, where's Union? Is this is a continuous flow interchange. Yeah, these are a thing. I don't necessarily know if I like this, but yeah, the idea is to make better, and it makes the traffic modeling work out well, and ostensibly they're good, but they're also hell from a pedestrian perspective. I'm not a big fan of CFIs. I think it's just a way to try and optimize car flow in a scenario where maybe you've kind of maxed out the amount of cars you can put into it. But that's a great question.
You're getting marginal gains on huge infrastructure costs. The thing I don't like about any of the continuous flow stuff that I've seen is just how space intensive it is.
Oh, yeah.
To your point on being hell for pedestrians,
it's hell.
You oftentimes are making intersections like 1.5, if not 2 times larger for a very small efficiency gain, which is a shame.
Yeah, like.
And then it says, oh, so it's a worse diverging diamond.
Yeah, it's in the same school of thought. It's kind of if we're talking about things that work in a specific context, or that are built for a very specific thing, but have some severe drawbacks to them, think about this as a Heisler versus a Climax. It's in the same flavor of like, these are both weird and doing similar things, but they're doing similar things differently and mostly wrongly.
You're going to piss off some of the logging people.
Well, and dang it, I am at the top of a hill, and they're really good at getting to those, so crap.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I can get you.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not at the top of the hill. Your new house is kind of down in a valley.
Good point.
Doxing Leighton.
I know. I live down. I moved to the valley. Duh. All right. Question for Brett. So somebody did some stalking on the narrow gauge discussion forum, and they have to ask, was there a Rio Grande dynamite train that used to service the munitions plant at Louvier's? They lived in Highlands Ranch, and they'd love to know about that. I'm going to let Brett answer that while I go get myself another refreshing beverage.
Oh, gosh. Yes. So how to frame this for the rest of chat so it's not just random esoteric stuff. The question is about the DuPont dynamite factory that used to exist in Louvier's, Colorado. The Rio Grande served this industry.
Brett, yes? Stop. Random esoteric is the fucking brand.
It is, but you have to bring people up to speed. The rest of chat has to know what we're talking about. Let's see. There was a dynamite factory in Louvier's, Colorado. It was one of the largest in the country. I believe it was the largest between the Mississippi and the Sierra Nevada, so the largest in the Rocky Mountain west of the U.S. It was just south of Denver. The Rio Grande did serve it for many years. They had a dedicated local that was called the Louvier's Plug. I've seen reference to it on a couple of schedule sheets as the Louvier's Ping Pong because it was just a little out and back ping pong service. I kind of like that name for it. And yeah, the Rio Grande served this factory. More interestingly, at least in my own mind, is this factory had a dedicated 3-foot gauge internal rail network, because when you're building dynamite, you have step 1 in building A, and then step 2 you want to put way over there. You don't want it to, you want to spread things out as much as you can. So if any individual step in the process goes boom, it doesn't take everything down with it. Hi there, Lily. I don't know if you can see the cat, but the cat has woken up from her nap. Yeah, I can't remember any more of the question, but yes, there was an industry like that. The Rio Grande did serve it. If you go to Louvieres today, you can still see some of where the grade was. If you pull it up on Google Earth, go to Louvieres, look at the baseball diamond, and the south side of the baseball diamond, you can fairly clearly see where the Rio Grande came in. The cat is debating whether or not she wants to get down or not. She does.
Behold, cat.
Mr. Sir!
This is Mr. Sir. This is the little bastard who kept trying to die on us.
I think, chat, have we met Mr. Sir before in one of the 3/4 videos?
Yeah, he appeared. His butt's a thumbnail.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, this is my kitty cat.
Mr. Sir.
His name is Sir. We got him from a shelter, and we think he's like 8 years old. But we think they were wrong about their age because he had FIP and was actively dying when we got him from the shelter. Yeah, that was a whole.
He's better now.
He's less dead now. No, after I said $1,500 to Crazy Cat Lady LLC and met somebody in a parking lot to get some drugs, he's not dying. Cat drugs that are now legal and FDA approved. So,
there you go.
Yeah. And now he wants out of the room. So,
yeah. I see a couple in chat. Across the valley from CRM, there looks like a random trail on the far mountain. Was that a rare grade at some point? No, that's a fire trail. That's over on South Table. There was more grade that no longer exists down in that valley in front of the museum, but the line that everybody looks at and says, that looks like grade on South Table is just a fire access road.
Yeah, no. There used to be a lot of cool stuff. There used to be a quarry that was owned by Denver Tramway on top of North Table Mountain. And here's something that a lot of people don't realize about why streetcar companies went away. Streetcar companies, one of the things they did in order to be able to operate on city streets, frequently they had to maintain the streets they operated on. And streets is expensive, as I can tell you from my day job now. So once cars started coming along, that started tearing up streets a lot more. And streetcar companies that was one issue that's not really talked about that led to their downfall. So Denver Tramway actually had a quarry on top of South Table Mountain, and they had like a cool, was it a conveyor belt, or was it a bucket tram? I don't remember what it was, but went to a little house in the bottom of the valley, and they mined the rocks that made the streets of Denver there, and then transported them on flat cars to wherever they were going. So I just think
nominally to Denver.
Yeah, I just think that's so cool. Also, Brett, they have it. Canned whiskey.
Corey Gibson says, maybe do the Ask an Engineer stream on the Heist Models YouTube channel located at, and he drops a link for it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Corey. Somebody asked a good question. What are our thoughts on MKT railroad steam locomotives?
I have no thoughts.
I'd have thoughts if more of them existed, but there were some pretty handsome looking engines. I've owned Hallmark ones in HO scale and brass in the past, and they're hit or miss on their quality. The 080s have a habit of the tires falling off the wheel centers. That's a fun problem to have. But
hey, so did the K27s.
It's fine. It's fine. Niche cut, but I appreciate it. Yeah.
North Coast Rail fan asks, when is their question? What is your question? Are they sorted by respondent in this
I
way?
did not. I just let people submit anonymously, but now looking back at it, I should have included names. So
What is your question, sir? Put it in the chat, and if we see it, we can bump that one up, because we got a lot of questions for this, and I don't think we're gonna get to all.
Oh no, we're not. Another question for you, Brett. How many Lego scale trains have you built? And also, people want to see the Legos.
In the last 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, 0. I don't want to be as definitive as to say that I've stopped doing the Lego stuff, but really I don't have the time for it anymore. I don't have the space for it. And when I moved into this apartment with my then girlfriend, now wife, all the Lego engines got put in a cupboard and they have sat there since. So when I was actively doing Lego stuff, quite a few. I've got a C-19, a K-28, a K-37, and Pee-wee sitting in the cupboard next to me. And then a whole bunch of freight cars and a couple of pieces of maintenance away equipment. But in recent years, basically nothing.
Yeah.
We'll see. If anybody is interested in a bunch of Lego trains, hit me up.
No, don't sell those.
Well, I don't know really what else to do with them, because I do not get to play with them very much anymore. If you want to see really cool Lego trains, look up Glenn Holland's YouTube channel. Glenn does amazing stuff with Legos that if I could have made any of my engines run half as well as all of his equipment does, maybe I would still be doing Lego.
Yeah. Glenn, also great human, involved in Age of Steam, and better hair than anybody I know of in tourist railroading.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah. But the number of Stranger Things jokes that were being made at Amherst and crap. Well, now I'm forgetting the name of the guy, the boyfriend. Damn it. Okay. Well,
in Stranger Things?
Yeah. It starts out as a douche.
I can picture him. Yeah.
I can picture his freaking face. Anyways.
Scoops Ahoy.
Yeah, Scoops Ahoy. Scoops Ahoy. And North Coast Rail Fan has resurrected his question. How did we get into railroading and railroad preservation? I think I can answer this for both of us. We just showed up and then kept showing up.
Pretty much. You can't get rid of us for like a bad rash.
You really do have to be dumb enough to do it.
Andrew Frame says, Leighton, me and my hair are in this chat too.
Well, I don't know what your hair looks like. And do you have a Tough Guys crew denim jacket embroidered with a daylight on the back?
The denim jacket.
Yes. Did Lori give me a tour of Sir William while I was on that side of the pond? Yes. When I went to the UK 2 years ago, I got to meet Lori in person. I had a box of merch to give him, and I was already going over there. And turns out that was cheap. It was cheaper to go to him than to mail it over there. So he showed me Sir William. We got fish and chips. Got some delightful fish, still with the skin on. Which I know, Brett, you are not a fan of that, but I'm okay.
I'm not a fan of that. That is basically all the fish and chips I've seen in the UK is served like that. I don't know if it's a countrywide thing or if it's just a national preference. I do not like that.
I do like the American format. Okay. Serious question now. We're fish and chips. American format is very much a finger format. Like you're going to get a chicken finger, but in fish-based format. So basically, that pivots us over to what is your favorite chicken tender? This is the question.
Golden Flame chicken tendies in Golden, Colorado, with the Parmesan the garlic buffalo sauce. Easy.
Okay. Wow. I thought that was going
to
be more of a controversial statement, but you did choose wisely.
What is your favorite chicken tendy?
What is my favorite chicken tendy?
What does this stream become?
I don't know. There's this place called Slim's, and maybe I like it a lot because I don't get to eat it very much. But Slim's has got they're a fried chicken place out of Arkansas, and they're nationwide. They kind of overexpanded and then they were retracting, whatever. But their sauce selection is great, and I'm definitely a sauce slut. And I think that their actual Slim sauce is it blows cane sauce. It's a similar vibe, but it blows cane sauce out of the water. And it comes...
Sam PJ Cat has just said in chat, hot take, Canes is mid. I don't think that's a hot take among the three quarters, actually.
No.
It might be among chat, but among the three of us, I'll eat Canes. I like Canes, but yeah, I don't think it's anything amazing.
I'm not going to defend it as God's gift to chicken tendies. I think it is
certainly not.
Pretty decent, but...
Yeah, I think the Texas toast is more noteworthy than the chicken itself.
Yeah, I do like the sweet tea there. I'm not a big sweet tea person, despite the fact that I'm from Texas. And
Jordan Freeman, on the note of Texas, Jordan Freeman just said something in chat that I will have the hottest of hot takes now. Says, I don't know if you have these in the Denver area, but Chattanooga finally got a Culver's, which is fairly good, and a Whataburger. I was disappointed in Whataburger. I grew up not having a Whataburger, and everybody was like, oh, Whataburger's better than In-N-Out. Whataburger's better than In-N-Out, blah, blah, blah. No, it is not. Whataburger is discount Burger King. Fight me. That is my hot take.
And this is where I'm coming from a different place. Matter of perspective. I did not grow up thinking it was God's gift to fast food. I grew up thinking of it as this is our shitty regional fast food chain. And so to me, Whataburger, it tastes like high school. It tastes like doing midnight Whataburger runs in high school. It tastes like actually waking up early enough for school in high school that I could go get Whataburger for breakfast on the way. It tastes like being drunk at Anthony Pegler's wedding and being dragged to a Whataburger to sober up.
That is a good vibe right there.
Yeah. Also, we need to go down to New Mexico and bug Anthony.
We need to go to a lot of places.
Yeah.
I don't have the time on my schedule. I'm going back on work. I'm finally doing my honeymoon next month, and between now and then, I have another work trip scheduled that I found out this week. I have spent, at this point, more than a month of this year on the road.
That's not great.
No, it's been a thing. It's been a very busy year.
Yeah. Ethan Locke asked, I'm of a vintage, it could have watched it was airing, Battlestar Galactica. I have never actually gotten into Battlestar, despite the fact that I love Star Trek, I love Star Wars. Like, I am fairly deep into sci-fi. Battlestar
Galactica. Trek, specifically DS9.
DS9 is the best Trek. Cisco did nothing
and that's
wrong.
like, DS9, I feel like exists sort of adjacent to Battlestar Galactica.
And, you know, you're not wrong. I just haven't taken the dive. Problem is that my missus does not like sci-fi, so if I'm going to watch that, I have to watch it on my own time. And unfortunately, the way that my ADHD brain works is if I have to watch TV on my own time, am I going to watch something new or am I going to watch something comforting that I've watched I don't know how many times before?
I am in this picture.
Yeah, and that's why I've seen the entirety of MASH at least 6 times.
I just saw Bandon in the chat, and it reminded me of something. First of all, he says, agree Whataburger isn't that great, but Culver's is good. Yeah, Culver's is pretty good.
Well, they got fried
cheese. Expensive, though.
They've got fried cheese curds. Like,
they
sorry.
Do.
Yeah. Also,
Bandon, where was it that we went in LA that had the chicken? Up in Burbank. That place had really good chicken.
I don't know.
That was some very tasty chicken.
Yeah.
And Jimmy says, you still got to try the Gunther's chicken strips, especially on bottomless. Oh, Gunther Tooties. They do have some.
We were literally just having this conversation.
We were having this conversation. Alyssa and I went to Gunther Tooties last week, 2 weeks ago. We were just there recently, and I forgot it's right by your new house.
Yeah.
Further doxing Leighton.
Yeah, I live in the vicinity of a mediocre regional diner chain. But I had
so good.
Yeah, I got a BLT when I went and got lunch with Jimmy, and he got the tendies. I tried the ranch. The ranch was pretty damn good. So I'm going to assume the tendies are of a similar quality, and they have unlimited tendies on Tuesdays. And we do need to try and get Goose to gain weight, so we can try.
Yes, he might blow away otherwise. Andrew Frame asking, okay, DS9, Garrick and Bashir, gay or not? Because the homoerotic tension in every one of their joint scenes is fucking wild.
Yeah, no, clearly gay as fuck. Like, None of you have seen that. It was one of the Lower Decks episodes where they went on there and you could see them as a couple. No. Garrick, also, if you ever get a fucking chance, read A Stitch in Time, written by the actor that played Garrick, whose name is now escaping me. And if you really want the pro gamer move, you get the audiobook that's actually read by him. And the man who played Bashir is in there. So it is so freaking good. Garrick is not like, he's not like gay or straight. He's just kind of whatever is at the mood at the time. So I guess that pansexual or whatever, I don't know. He's a plain and simple tailor. I'm not going to go too far into it. And also, Mrs. Taylor has popped into the picture, Brett, and Ashley is asking, or pointing out that the Whataburger In-N-Out divide is one that defines friendships. How do you feel about that statement?
I would be fine going along with that. I don't think that's the Ashley Taylor we know of, is it?
I don't know. Looks like Ashley.
I can't see the profile picture. I seem to recall that there is another Ashley Taylor.
It's that Ashley.
Oh, okay. Hi, Ashley.
Yeah.
Hi, Teddy, probably.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Somebody asking a hot question here.
Oh, was it Philippe's? No, sorry, it was Bannon got it. It was Gus's World Famous. I think it was in Burbank. It was very good.
Nice. Somebody just asked if we would rather have a K-27 at the museum instead of 91.
No.
But from a practical perspective.
Would it be smart? Yes. Would we want it? No. We like K-37.
Yeah, we like 91 specifically. But a K-27 is kind of an objectively better engine for the museum, even though it does have an equivalently bad trailing truck.
I plead no contest.
All right. I'm gonna. Oh, God damn it! Did it again. I'm going to pick one question for me. Somebody asked, "How does the merch work?" Basically, when creating a new line of model train merchandise, is the whole Heist team going up to the manufacturer with the proposal, or do they come to us guys? Basically, how do we do this? So this has kind of evolved over time. The model railroad industry is so relational. It is so, hey, I know this person, we can work with them on that. Or I know this person, I know this person. I know they have tooling for this. My whole strategy with the Heist stuff, the ES&D stuff, is taking advantage of existing runs and piggybacking on that. So like Broadway Limited, I was talking with their communications director, who's my point of contact there, Curtis, and I was saying, hey, I want to do an ES&D locomotive. I want to I want to do something. What do you have coming up that hasn't been announced yet that I can work with you on? And he threw out some stuff. This was already after I'd done the business card project with him, so already kind of proven I was serious. It helps when you already have a track record of doing stuff. And it also helps when you come up to them and say, hey, I'd like to buy 200. That is kind of what separates the foamers from the folks who can enable the foamers, is the understanding that, okay, yeah, I want to do a diesel locomotive. I know that I'm going to need to buy at least 100 of these. And you can imagine how much that's going to cost. So figuring out what they're already making, how can we incorporate this within the ES&D brand? Thankfully, like, the ES&D is total made up bullshit. Like, the headcanon is whatever I decide it is. Like, why are we doing modern stuff lettered ES&D? Well, it's the practical reason that the ES&D just has better brand recognition than the ES&DT. Yes, but can I say that also the ES&D continued to exist on paper for tax fraud purposes, and that is why some stuff was still technically owned by the ES&D, even though it's modern? Also, yes. So
tangential loop, Southern Pacific had cap forwards lettered for the Central Pacific briefly.
Exactly, and that's the thing, but that's a whole different story. And somebody, Swag Pants, just pointed out that 1 or 200 feel like a really MOQ, and that is correct. That is because it is really a low MOQ. We have not done anything yet that justifies an entire run of something. If a model train manufacturer is proposing to do a run of something, they're doing a couple thousand. However, if you show up to a model train manufacturer and you say, hey, I have a business, I'd like to do dealer exclusive, I will guarantee you that I will buy at least 100 of these from you. That can make a difference. Because model train manufacturers are not fabulously wealthy. Everybody's making model trains because they like trains. Like, it is not an industry you go in to get fabulously wealthy. It is something that you do because you like it. And so,
what if I'm fabulous and wealthy?
You don't have the hair for that to be fabulous, but
I don't have the money either. So
I mean,
what are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if you're fabulous and wealthy, great.
Then you don't belong in this call.
Then why the hell are you here? Corey Gibson, once again, thank you for the plug. How to make model train merch. That is something good that I can definitely consider. Somebody asked, are we working on any O-gauge models? Yes. We have talked to Lionel about doing a boxcar with them, and that is something that is in progress. We want the orange.
I didn't know this.
That's cool. We want an orange. We want to do at least one thing with an orange box, because the orange
does seem kind of on brand.
The orange, it's not that we're buying maybe whatever the best model is. It's that we're buying one that says Lionel on it.
Correct.
And that is the thing that scratches a primal itch from all the people that can go, oh no, and they know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. There's a
Mike
question.
Squire's asking if I've had any luck with timing the steam car engine yet. No, I've talked to a couple of folks, and I think I've worked out a methodology for how I'm going to do it, but I have not had a chance to execute on that. I've been cleaning out the garage over the last month or so, and like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I've been traveling a lot, so I just haven't had the time. But I will be getting to it more as the summer ramps up, I think.
Yeah. Then here's another easy softball question. You can pick one type of layout building supply to have an infinite amount of. What do you pick? Brett, what's the answer to that one?
3D printing resin, of course.
No, money. You have infinite money. Everything else becomes easy.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah. Oh, dang it. Somebody coming in with a good question. Favorite Mario Kart game? What's your favorite Mario Kart level? I mean, the answer...
Favorite Mario Kart game or level?
Ooh, well, yeah. That says game, but I interpreted that as level. But yeah, there's so many
level's
different...
the more interesting one.
The most hated one is clearly Rainbow Road.
A soft spot for Calamari Desert for obvious reasons. I also really like Wario's Gold Mine for whatever reason. I've always enjoyed that one.
I'm also one, you stick me in a mine and in a video game context, and I'm happy. It makes me feel like I'm in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The good part about that movie.
Galima. Coconut Mall's a good one too. We got a couple people saying Mario Kart Wii. That was the one that I grew up with the most. We played Mario Kart 64 at Dusty's place over New Year's, and man, it has not aged well. It looks so much worse than I remember as a kid. Yeah, but here's a generational difference between us, even though we're only a couple years apart. To me, I have so much fucking nostalgia about that I just see it as Mario Kart N64. I don't see it as an objective video game. Yeah, we never had Mario Kart 64 growing up. We had Diddy Kong Racing, for those in the chat that know. Another N64 kart racer, basically the same thing, but it was by Rare rather than being native to Nintendo. And Diddy Kong Racing was fantastic. Mark and I joked about listening to the entire score for Diddy Kong Racing on the road trip to Train Mountain last year. So road trips with Mark and what he picks to listen to are interesting, because it's either like, oh yeah, here are just some classic, what is now dad rock, 80s rock albums, or here's video game soundtracks. I always get surprised when ABBA comes on. I forget that Mark has kind of a low-key ABBA thing going, and there's always ABBA always features fairly heavily on the road trips.
and some Elton John thrown in there. That one,
And a little bit Elton.
A little bit out, like that he kind of got me kind of into Elton John, so I appreciate that.
Before we get too far from Mario Kart, somebody says, tried Whistle Stop Mountain yet? I don't think either of us. Mark has. Neither of us. That's in the newest one that just came out last year.
Oh, yeah, I've not yet.
Not.
Person above them asked, and it was in the survey of favorite railroad. And I'm going to go first on this. I'm going to come in with a hot take. It's not going to be a Colorado railroad. If I have to pick like a railroad that was, I'm picking this not because it's the Rio Grande, even though the Rio Grande is also a correct answer. I'm picking this because of how well designed, how well built, how so many lessons learned were incorporated in that, but the Virginian. Like,
interesting.
The Virginian Railroad, it was built late. It was designed, like, the civil engineers were allowed to make the design decisions. So they chose electric. Like, hey, we have district with a lot of hills. Fuck, let's do electric. Let's do big curves. Let's do as shallow of grades as we can. And just in a way that it's like, they learned late. They came in last, but they took all of the lessons from everybody else and they incorporated that. And as much as I love steam, as much as I love vintage diesel, like if you're going to be powering a railroad, the answer is electric. Like if you can do overhead wire, the answer is overhead wire.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that is, and apparently I have apparently there's a Virginian contingent in here. So cool. All right.
Ash is asking, what is the road trip go-to album?
Ooh.
I don't know that there's just one. There's like we talked about, ABBA features very typically. It's usually a lot of Led Zeppelin and AC/DC, just like greatest hits of AC/DC. Name an AC/DC song and it features
Back in Black, I think, is the album that Mark always uses.
Yeah. It's, any AC/DC song is on the road trip. Funnily enough, for road trips, a bit of a tradition has been to have the blooper reel for Whose Line Is It Anyway? The original run of Whose Line Is It Anyway with Drew Carey running in the background.
Because it's
listen to and quote as it goes.
A collection of vocal skips.
Not really an album, but
yeah. Oh, or remember when we did the Dirty Mad Libs?
Oh God, yes, that was
ventriloquist hooker.
That was an adventure that probably should stay off of stream for both of our sakes, if not Mark's.
Boff. Give me a verb. Boff. Give me another verb.
Everyone
Boff.
dies.
Virginian
trip. Yeah, there is a large Virginian contingent. I don't know much about the Virginian, if I'm honest.
I mean, they were another railroad that fell victim to we want to have big fuck off engines, but we don't want to build bigger turntables. So they had these two 10-10-2s that had itty-bitty tenders. So
sounds about right.
Yeah. And a lot of like Western Virginia, not West Virginia, but Western Virginia railroading.
Yes, where the song is written about.
Yeah. Like the fact that you said like really fucking hilly and curvy railroads where they had like the Virginian Berkshires and the NWJ class that were just expected to cruise at like 80 or 90. Like, what the fuck? How is a railroad this well built?
Colorado Kid asking, tangential question, do any of y'all listen to any rappers or R&B artists on road trips? Not really. Certainly not from a rap perspective. I'm trying to think. There's got to be some R&B in there. I'm sure there is.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Some Ray Charles will inevitably get thrown in there.
Yeah. Does Michael Jackson count as R&B? Some of it.
Yeah.
I
can guarantee though there will be some kind of like jazz big band. Like that is an area.
That's a drinking game actually. Whenever big band comes off, we all say, "Oh, take a shot." You don't actually take a shot.
Yeah, because you're driving. But no, jazz and big band. That's definitely always on the list.
We got people saying no, he does not count. It's like, oh, okay, yes, I realize it's mostly pop, but there's a lot of R&B influence in there.
Yeah.
I say that we don't listen to much Michael Jackson either. Just for whatever reason, what popped into my head.
Yeah, recently I've been finding myself listening to what's that song I've been having on repeat in my fucking head. Do you ever fall into the same trap of like you find like 5 songs you really like and you just listen to those on repeat until you get sick of them?
Yep.
Definitely not an ADHD or autism symptom going on there.
Definitely not.
Definitely
not.
Yeah. No, that's been a thing. Okay, another question for you that I know I've asked you on road trips before, but it's always fun to talk about. You have to pick 5 you can see any 5 individuals or bands in concert at any time in their career. So, like Cab Calloway in the 30s is different than Cab Calloway in the 70s. What are your 5? What do you pick? Like,
Rush in the early 2000s, controversially.
Okay.
Gordon Lightfoot, probably in the mid 80s, maybe to late 80s.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with for me. That's another one too. Like Gordon Lightfoot, early middle career.
Yeah, John Denver, probably middle to I'd say mid career for John Denver. I feel like it would be an atrocity to not say Sinatra at some point, probably earlier career, just because that seems, I'm less into the Rat Pack stuff. But
oh no, I would go hardcore Rat Pack. Like I want Frank Sinatra.
I guess if you also get Dean Martin and
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yes, if you get the rest of the pack as a package deal, then yeah, maybe that changes up the calculus a little bit.
Early Frank, late Frank, totally fucking different. Like they're the same. Like it's clearly the same dude, but there's such a far different ends of the spectrum. Later in his career, he just gives so few fucks except for giving a good performance. But like, I want to go see like 70s Vegas. Frank Sinatra is 3 Jack Daniels deep. He's just smoking a cigarette. He's walking around there, whipping around.
Elvis is 2 doors down.
Yeah. Like that is the Frank Sinatra I want to see.
That's just as Earth, Wind, and Fire. Never been huge on Earth, Wind, and Fire. That'd be a good show, though. Gosh, there are so many good ones, and this isn't even touching like the real esoteric old stuff, like Maurice I always mess up his name. The guy that did.
Really, we're gonna get into like 30s, 40s, 50s French pop here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you start getting way back into the 20s and 30s and like the early crooners and all that. There are so many good ones to see. I don't know that I could narrow it to 5. Of popular ones, I think those are my top few. Do you have any other notables?
Well, we can both agree on Stan Rogers. Like I just want to sit in a coffee shop.
True.
I want to see Stan Rogers in like the 70s. That is what I fucking want on repeat. I love that so many of his concerts have been uploaded to YouTube, like just the whole thing. So you hear the songs, but you also hear the banter between the songs. I would go Cab Calloway at the Cotton Club in the 30s. Because
that's a vibe.
That is such a fucking vibe.
That is a vibe and a half right there.
Like, I'm not just going for the music. I'm going for the rest of it. Like, that is what I want. Jim Croce. That's
another good one.
Yeah. Like, I want to hear "Time in a Bottle," and I want to fall up. I want to emotionally.
I want to sob at "Time in a Bottle."
Yes. Yeah, but also, yeah, that is what I want. And then last one. Glenn Miller Orchestra.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
Like Glenn Miller.
I will redact my 20s, 30s esoteric one for Glenn Miller Orchestra. Glenn Miller and his orchestra would be worth seeing if for no reason other than it is Glenn Miller and his orchestra.
Yeah. Although, did you listen to the new Sturgill Simpson album, Mutiny After Midnight, before it got taken down from YouTube?
I have not yet, no.
Dude, that album makes you want to leave money on the nightstand. It fucks hard.
Does it?
It is.
I will look forward to it.
Well, here's the thing: is that bastard only released it on they like leaked it on YouTube, and then took it off once the album released in other formats. So if you want to listen to it, you have to actually buy the fucking CD or the record or the cassette.
Well, that'd be how.
Yeah. Somebody asked us, have we seen Von Ryan's Express, also starring Sinatra?
Yes.
Yeah, duh.
Very, very silly movie. Good one though. It's not quite The Train, but it's fun.
I mean, the train. If we're talking about like black and white movies from that era, like Second World War movies about trains, The Train is the best one.
Right. The Train is one of the best train movies, like period. But
honestly, it's just a good movie to begin with.
Oh, it is. It's a fantastic film. Love The Train.
It is
It's been far too long since I've seen it.
It is my #1 favorite movie about Burt Lancaster stealing a train.
It's a strange thing that's multiple movies.
It's a category of 2, but
It is, but hey, the second one is it's a winner too. It's not a good movie. It's a terrible movie, but it's also a winner. It's a fun watch.
Nobody steals trains anymore.
I guess you've been misinformed. Zimzam asked, what type of technical would you turn your Tacomas into if given the chance?
My Tacoma is fine. It's paid off and it's functional. It's fine. I don't need to do anything to it.
I guess by that logic, my Tacoma's fine too.
No, your Tacoma's not fine. It's being held together with fucking zip ties.
By your criteria, it is paid off and it is functioning. But that is your criteria. It meets those.
That's fair.
I would like to put a flatbed on mine, maybe with a little like a swing out jib crane. That would be useful, I think.
Do it.
Ashley says Jungle Cruise cue music is in the work playlist. That's a good one. Although I can't picture the cue music for Jungle Cruise in the same way that I can for like Matterhorn or Haunted Mansion or some such thing.
Yeah.
It's probably etched into Ashley's memory for some unknown reason.
I don't know what you're talking about there. Brill Bus just brought up a good point of, what about Glenn Miller is that his band was so much more than the music. They had rehearsed choreography. Like Glenn Miller clearly had a lot of OCD that was not well managed. But like,
what are you talking about, Leighton? They didn't have autism before like 1990. It didn't exist.
Yeah,
don't be ridiculous.
If you could speak and string some sentences together, and that's why Gustav Eiffel designed everything down to the 10th of a millimeter. Wasn't anything else. But yeah, no, Glenn Miller Orchestra. It's not just about like the music; it's that everything else was so fucking perfect, and that it's like, yeah, all the trombones are gonna go right at this moment and in the mood, and it's gonna happen every single fucking time.
Yep, everybody not only has to hit the note, but everybody's going to pivot 5 degrees to the right as you hit the same inclination.
Yeah, and you're going to do it every fucking time or you're gone. Yeah. And there's going to be a line of schmucks with trombones to replace you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's see, what are other questions on here? Leighton, what's the meaning of life?
Eat, drink, be merry. Be a decent human.
42.
No, it is meaning, but we don't know what the question is.
Precisely.
Do you have your towel with you? I don't have my towel with me, so I'm clearly not prepared. But do you have your towel with you if you're going to bring that? Okay, never mind that.
Let's see, what are questions for Leighton? We've talked quite a bit about Hyacinth. Do we want to kick the bee's nest of CDOT stuff and Mountain Rail, or do we probably want to start winding down before too much longer?
We do, but I've been marinating on that question, and I've got a good response for that.
Okay, well, as a CDOT employee, do you think it's a much better idea to reroute the future Mountain Rail service to Grand Junction and Glenwood Springs instead of only Hayden and Craig?
So, I am tangentially involved with that. I'm not on the rail team. I just assist them with things. I make introductions. I know people. That's why Al Harper knows who I am, which is weird.
Bye, Ashley.
Yeah. It is not a binary, like you must have one or the other. I think that the state is going to have more passenger rail on both corridors in 10 years. I think you're going to see, in 10 years, I think you're going to see multiple trains going from Denver to Grand Junction and multiple trains going from Denver to Craig. That is my hope. The Craig branch has the advantage of the coal mines are winding down. That is freeing up space. You have a railroad that's built for heavy coal traffic that is going to need an economic.
No more heavy coal traffic.
That has a lot less, and soon to be none, heavy coal traffic. So that is the opportunity there. The hardest part about operating operating passenger trains when you don't own the route is the fact that you don't own the route. Is that you have to play in somebody else's sandbox. And that's hard. And if you're Union Pacific, why do you care about CDOT? Or like, why do you care about some passenger train when you've got an oil train that'll make you a couple $1,000,000 every time it goes by? Like, the economics just don't make sense there. And this is one of the issues of privately owned rail infrastructure that other countries don't have. I think Mountain Rail offers a lot of benefits, and in particular in the different segments. And this is the thing about intercity passenger rail travel is you can't just look at intercity passenger rail as it only matters what the beginning point and what the end point matters. It's the intermediate destinations. From Denver to Granby to Fraser Valley, it is time competitive. And if Berthoud Pass has done anything stupid, I don't know. It's a day.
Berthoud Pass. It has.
It's a day that ends in Y. I hate that freaking road. I've only ever driven over it twice, and I don't ever need to do that again.
Berthoud Pass is awful.
Yeah. So the railroad's time competitive there. And that's an opportunity. We're getting from Denver to the Fraser Valley. That makes sense. Getting from the Fraser Valley to the Yampa Valley, not time competitive with driving. And without building some big fuck off tunnels, it's not going to be. But within the Fraser Valley, it's time competitive. Or within the Yampa Valley, it's time competitive. So you have different segments of the train serving different markets. I understand why politically they decided to go for Craig first. Would it be cooler to go from Denver to Grand Junction first, or Denver to Glenwood Springs first and turn around? Yeah, sure, because that's more train. But the fact is we're getting any train. And that is kind of the stage of where we're at. We're going from 0 to 1 train. Brett, do you remember did you have Becky LaFrancois for Econ 101?
No.
Nice human.
I cannot remember his name.
George Lucas?
No. I had the most awful, crotchety old man for Econ, and I hated him.
Okay. Well, there was one guy who looked like George Lucas. I don't remember what his name was, but I do remember somebody going, God damn it, George Lucas. And it was beautiful. But we get into the law of diminishing returns. The first one is always going to be the hardest, but after that, it gets easier. It's a lot easier, and this is the same thing with Front Range Passenger Rail. The joint service proposal that was just announced and will be going to RTD's board in a week is that it's a lot harder to go from 0 to any number of trains than to go from any number of trains to more trains. So the fact that something is getting started is better, and that can be built off of. Think about the Borealis service going from Chicago to the Twin Cities. They went from Da Bears / Da Pope to Lake Wobegon. Da Prayers now.
Prayers.
The blood of Christ, it is my Lord.
The deep dish blood of Christ, or body of Christ.
Deep dish body of Christ. This is the Eucharist. It's got a cornbread crust on it now. That service is doing well, and almost immediately they started talking about how can we get more. The same thing with the Mardi Gras service in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Amtrak expected to get 50-something thousand riders in the first year. They just hit the 100,000 rider mark 8 months in with 2 trains a day and 3 cars. They're only running 3 fucking cars. Sorry, 2 coaches and a cafe. Yeah, 2 coaches and a cafe. So just because Amtrak is so equipment starved, if you build right now with passenger trains within this country, if you build it, they will come. So if we get 1 train going to, if the state of Colorado can get 1 train going to Granby, that will mean that more come. And somebody just asked, what about California high-speed rail? California high-speed rail is trying to do something different. I believe in it, but I don't think, personally, I would have started out, me, and, in 2008, I was a fucking child, so who cares? So my opinion didn't matter or anything. I think that the first thing that California high-speed rail should have done is the tunnels. Built the tunnels through under Altamont Pass and from Bakersfield to Los Angeles. Build those, they're hard, but they're easy. Like, we know how to build a fucking tunnel. It's going to take a long time. Do that, run conventional trains, and then make fancy high speed. That's my perspective.
Yeah, it's tricky what California high-speed rail is doing, and to your point, I think it's fundamentally different than a lot of the corridor passenger stuff.
Yeah, California high-speed rail is a great example of how difficult it is to build large infrastructure in this country.
Yeah,
and it is difficult for a lot of reasons, many of them good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another day.
That's a big conversation for another day.
Big conversation. It involves one of the few things that Richard Nixon did right. Like, hey, I'm a Quaker and I bombed Cambodia, but I created Amtrak, the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, and NEEP, and the Historic Preservation Act.
Stopped clock is right twice a day.
Apparently.
For good old Tricky Dick.
Yeah.
We'll do speed round real quick. Jay Christensen, if 683 were ever to run again, where would it run? Around the museum, probably most likely, honestly. It'd be cool to travel with it. Leadville would be a neat place to take it.
Yeah.
Heber would also be a neat place if they would want us.
Heber would definitely take us. They might not give the engine back, but they would take us.
Well, in that case, we're not going to take it out there. They can't have it. They've taken all our other cool shit. They're doing the Lord's work with it. They're doing awesome stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, you got the flangers? Oh, they're so cool.
Yeah, the Heber is just this delightful little Rio Grande preservation area because, may or may not be the case that their assistant executive director is a huge Rio Grande foamer and collaborator on stupid projects of mine.
Emperor Chris Lovato asking, I must ask, what's the story with Leighton taking a bell upstairs? I heard it went poorly. What was this story?
This was somebody giving away things that they may or may not have been authorized to do.
Oh, this is a story from 10 years ago. Got it.
Yeah, this is an old story. So
I see.
The short version of this is museums frequently accumulate things. And sometimes if you're a person of less than ethical standards, you tell people, hey, look, we have all these things. You can have them. And then if you're dumb and 19, you go, oh, yeah, I will take a bell. And then you have to get it up to your second floor apartment. And then you end up giving it back 8 years later. So, yeah, that is a long story that is probably worth telling at some point, but not right now.
That's another one that gets into a series of conversations to get on the context of everything.
Yeah,
that is a saga to do with the museum, and it's been probably long enough that we could talk about it at some point, but that would honestly be a better stories from the shop one.
Yeah, how do you deal?
For no reason other than you could go back and kind of edit it and be very careful with what you say.
Yeah, manipulative narcissists. Turns out there's a lot of them in the world.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Brian 424, a line you wish survived and you would run on it. I mean, the Milwaukee Road's the obvious choice.
Okay, Howard. I mean,
Milwaukee Road.
Yeah, do I want to run a fucking Little Joe over the Milwaukee Road? And oh, we're slowing down. I need more power. Click.
Yeah, the lights dim.
Like, yeah, that's the correct answer.
I wish the Polywog survived, or the esoteric answer if Jimmy is still here for whatever reason.
Yeah,
the CNS's branch from Denver to the Springs via what is now Parker and Elizabeth.
Yeah. So I have to go with my theory that the wrong railroad was saved. I don't think the Cumbres and Toltec should have been saved. I think that was the wrong, in a larger scale thing, that was the wrong alignment to save. I think it should have been Marshall Pass. Because Marshall Pass...
To clarify, if you could choose between those two.
Yeah. Yeah. If we have a choice between the two big narrow gauge passes, it's Marshall Pass, hands down. When we drove over that was the first time I'd driven over that since high school. Also, for Brett's bachelor party, we went and fed chipmunks out of our hands and ate wild raspberries off the hillside on Marshall Pass and made choo-choo sounds. And his now wife and her friends were degenerate alcoholics.
Yeah. They had a bachelorette party. We went and were Disney princesses for a week.
And it was great.
For a weekend or some shit. And it was great.
Yeah. But I think the wrong railroad was saved. I think it should have been Marshall Pass. I think going from Salida to Sargent and back would provide a very similar trip to the Cumbres and Toltec, but be economically much more viable.
Andrew Frame says, presumably in regard to the California high-speed rail, starting with an alignment you can do 79 on the whole way seems like a good start. Yeah.
But that gets to a different question, is what inspires? Like, there is a bigger societal purpose in doing big things. It takes big things to excite men's hearts and inspire people to do better. Like, think about what going to the moon did. How much did our society just coast on, fuck you, we went to the moon? From a, yeah, we can totally do that. But like from an engineering perspective, like how much culturally did that give us?
What about?
So,
quick ones. Leighton, are you an Episcopalian?
Yes. I am painfully Anglican, but not ACNA. But yeah, that's a different story.
What are other quick? I thought there were other feed round ones right here.
Oh, somebody asked. Oh, sorry. In the chat or in the survey, whose idea was standing in the field a gag for Heist News? That was me. That was me telling Mark, stand here. I'm going to walk out over here, and I'm going to say I'm your reporter from the field, and then scream fuck. That is just my sense of humor.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then somebody has asked about the question for an HON3 beginner model. That's
a tough one.
That's a tough one. It really depends. Have you done model trains before? If you've done model trains before, cool answer. If you have not done model trains before, do not start with narrow gauge. You are starting in hard mode.
If you're starting in narrow gauge, I think we're to a point in the hobby where you could. Don't do HON3.
Yeah, do ON30 or
do ON30 or do HON30 or HOE or whatever variant of it there is. If you're new to the hobby, do not start in HON3. If you're already in the hobby and you're looking to break into narrow gauge, the Blackstone engines are all very expensive, but they're expensive for good reason. They're very good locomotives.
Holy fuck, somebody just gave a bunch of memberships. Rutger Lamberson.
Birds! Rutger! Oh!
Thank you!
Can we get some birds in the chat? We'll do our little, our marching.
I'm messing up precious glory. I'm messing up precious glory. HO3, get a black, you're going to be paying through the nose to get a couple Blackstone things. There's one guy on eBay who regauges Athearn stuff to be HON3. That's another option. There are some cool 3D printed options coming out there, but you're not getting something that's factory finished. I may or may not be.
HON3 it's either a scale that you are building a lot of stuff custom in, or you are paying through the nose for anything ready to run.
Or here's the fun part: do both.
Yeah, which is the reality of HON3. If you want to model really anything except for one of the Rio Grande branch lines in HON3, you're gonna have to scratch build a bunch of stuff or work on old brass. And
Yeah,
that
or regauging something else. Zach just brought up the Rapido 44 tonner. That one regauges really, really well.
Or go to the other end of the spectrum, start with an N scale drive and push the wheels out rather than in, and then put a 3D printed shell on it.
Yeah, that's another option. You can do it. I'm not going to discourage. I'm going to discourage people from doing it. Don't do HON3 if it's your first rodeo. This is at least like a second or third rodeo thing.
That's a tough scale to break into. You have to be fairly connected with the hobby. Just like knowing, I go to these places to get equipment. This is a reasonable price to pay for a locomotive. If you don't have those kind of touchstones, it's really not a great place to start.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to start out in, let's just say, hypothetically, you want to build a model train layout, you've got a 4x8 sheet of plywood and a reasonable budget, I would say get some Kato track, play around with it, get, an Athearn diesel or an Atlas diesel. Get something. Don't spend more than like $400 on something. Get a couple cars and play around with it. Find out what you like.
And if you really want to start in narrow gauge, OM30 is probably the best bet.
That is the correct answer.
You get some equipment off of eBay. Bachmann made a whole bunch of OM30 stuff in the early 2000s, and it's all like shockingly good quality. Actually, I'm very impressed with their OM30 stuff.
Yeah, like why is it this stuff is? Why is this stuff so nice, but your HO isn't?
Yeah, you can do a 4x8 OM30 layout. Like you can do a very nice O-scale narrow gauge layout on a 4x8. It's not prohibitively expensive or difficult or anything, whereas in HON3, that same layout is very expensive.
Yeah, and maybe that's like a good video series to do too, of like just building a 4x8 layout of like, hey, here's how you can do this. This isn't hard. This isn't scary.
Benden brings up a good point with ON32. They made all those sets with the moguls.
Oh yeah, no, all them. Yeah,
you can get ON30 stuff fairly easily on eBay, and it runs on HO track. It is narrow gauge that is of decent quality that runs on track. You can get at Hobby Lobby.
Yes.
There's a lot to be said for that.
And this is where I'm gonna add. Brett, do you know what I did for lunch today?
I do not.
I went to the Blue Bonnet off of South Broadway, and I got lunch with a bunch of former Caboose Hobbies employees.
Oh, very nice.
From the old store on South Broadway. And that was
now a Starbucks.
Yeah, the now a Starbucks. If you have a good hobby shop near you, go there. Ask questions. Generally, they will help. Go.
Tristan.
What is Tristan saying?
Or be Mark and do SN3. This is not financial advice.
Okay, that's...
Or be like Tristan and do FN3. This is really not financial advice.
Yeah. But, I may or may not be waiting for AccuCraft to make a Kara Stewart tattoo, and then I will build a garden railroad. But, details. I've decided I'm going to tell Brita I'm getting a tattoo, and then pull that out. I know it will be a joke she will not appreciate, but it will be glorious.
No. That is such an amazing joke that is completely lost on Brita.
Unfortunately, by virtue of the fact that I'm wearing a CB&Q advertising shirt that says, or in CB&Q Inspire that says everything's worse, unfortunately, that is my brand.
For FN3, step 1, have land. Step 2, convince investors, my wife, that this is a good idea. Step 3, step 4, profit.
Underpants gnome logic. Unfortunately, that is how the Heist store operates.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
$50 donor from Lamberson says, evening all, hope all is well. For those of us interested in / looking to volunteer to Railroad Museum or Heritage Railway, What skills would you recommend us have to be helpful / useful?
Be willing to show up and shut up.
Yeah, there are two sides to this question. On the one side are the practical skills like being a carpenter, a welder, a machinist, stuff like that. On the other side is what Leighton's getting at, and they are the mindset questions, and those are equally, if not more, important.
Yeah.
One of the most useful skills you can have, especially as a younger person, starting out in preservation, is the ability to shut up. Open your ears, shut your mouth. Andrew Frame is shouting, "Be teachable" in the chat. That is, yes,
yeah,
very much.
You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. That is your ratio.
Use them in that. Yeah, that is the correct ratio to use them. If not even more heavily to the.
And having the technical skills is great. Like we've got Maddie at the museum who's a code welder. She's fucking awesome. But she's also has the right mentality in there. And a lot of the times when you get folks who come in with legitimate skills, they will get frustrated with the stupidity that is working in an organization like this. Because working in a nonprofit shop is fundamentally different than working in a for-profit shop.
Yeah. Or sort of the other side of that same coin, if you have somebody that comes in that is incredibly skilled but doesn't get along with the rest of the people in the shop, they won't last. They wash out. Yeah. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. These are volunteer organizations that you're not there to make money. Everybody's there because they enjoy it. And if you're not outright volunteers, you're generally not making as much as you could in, doing an equivalent trade in industry.
Yeah.
So it's all about the mindset and getting along with people. You've got to be fun. You've got to be enjoyable to be around. Try and be part of the group, not to a point where you're pressing it too much, not to a point where you're an imposition, but the expectation is not, oh, you need to be a good welder, carpenter, this, that, or the other. It really is much more a mindset thing. At least that would be my opinion. What do you say, Leighton?
No, I 100% agree. You can have the technical skills, but if you can't put up with the bullshit of being in a volunteer organization, you're not going to last. There is a lot of personality massaging that goes along in there. You're dealing with a lot of people and this is something that I spend a lot of time in therapy talking about, is dealing with people's insecurities. You're recognizing that you're coming into something that this is somebody's childhood dream to work on trains like this. And so they're going to have a lot of emotions wrapped up in that. And so you need to be cognizant about that, because it doesn't matter that you're technically right. What matters is that you were nice about it.
And if you manage that, the skills will follow. Being a welder or a carpenter or a machinist or just a fabricator, whatever, they're very valuable skills to have, but especially if you're doing steam stuff or if you're doing restoration of really old or esoteric equipment, as is so often the case, nobody's going to know how to do this. You will learn the important stuff from the hard skill side on site and as part of the volunteering or that first job with the railroad. You will be taught those skills, but you need to come into it already having sort of the right mindset about it.
Yeah, because you can know the car builder's cyclopedia front to back, but if you're changing out a car brass and you're playing out that fun game where you close your eyes and you're trying to get the brass just in the right place, you only learn that by doing it.
Yeah.
And I say that as somebody who exactly what I'm doing, Brett.
It's not advertiser friendly.
Yeah. It's like, get the fuck in there.
Well, that's one thing to say to her. There's lots of good stuff going on in the chat right now. Jimmy says tourist railway shop in general. Yeah, that's generally true. The stuff that we're talking about here is more applicable to tourist and preservation and museum stuff, not so much the class ones.
I mean, even then,
although it does apply to the class one to an extent.
Yeah, like
unless you're hiring as a welder, then you probably should know how to weld.
Yeah. But like if you like trains and you show up to the class one and somehow they haven't caught on to that, don't show up as a foamer. Unfortunately, that is an industry where having an enthusiasm for it will weed you out. And so
Andrew Frame brings up another excellent point. If you're just there to play choo-choo, you will be nobody's favorite. One of the quickest ways you can advance in an organization like this, especially one that has a lot of older volunteers that have kind of been there, done that, volunteer to do the crappy job. You will learn so much, and you will gain so much sort of favor by being the person that jumps up and goes, sure, I'll scrub the inspection pit, I'll hub the engine, I'll climb in the boiler and, you know, try to pull the throttle out. Do the crummy jobs and really put in the work. Don't just be there to wave and blow the whistle and, you know, absorb the glory, so to speak.
Yeah. Brett, how many times have we played rock, paper, scissors to figure out who's going to hub the engine? It's a non-zero number of times.
It's a non-zero number of times. Mark and I eventually got into he would hard grease because I hate hard greasing if I hubbed because he hated hubbing. And we did that rotation for years. Gosh, it's hard to believe I've done Polar 12 times at this point.
Yeah.
11 times.
I just hate hubbing. Like, outside frame engines, why?
Yeah, it's not great.
Why would you do this? And of course, you know, then Churchward or some other Great Western guys laughing at us from hell.
These apprentices that do not. Corey Gibson, Knight friend, thank you for jumping on. He says, Leighton, you better call Bev a good girl for him.
Oh, Bev is constantly called a good girl, but I will make sure that one good girl is from you. Yeah, let's do 3 more questions and then wrap it up. Because I'm getting a little tired and I'd like to spend time with my wife.
I agree.
I didn't mean to cancel you out. Forgive me. Wait, no, window, go back to that.
I'm realizing I'm slowly turning blue because the lighting in my office is really poor.
Funny how that works out.
I don't have the cam stream, the streamer ring light.
Yeah, I don't either. I should probably do that. I tried to set up dingle hopper arm thing for microphone, and then I realized it's not great. So just working with microphone just on desk. But somebody asked
real quick on questions, just because I've seen this one in the chat a couple times. How excited are both of you for the Colorado Crossings event next month? I've somehow managed to get roped into helping with 315 up there. Are you excited for Colorado Crossings, Leighton?
Colorado Crossings always lands on the weekend of my wedding anniversary. And honestly, I would much rather be with my wife celebrating either my wedding or my wedding anniversary. So I don't get to participate that much anymore. Somebody asked, how do you see yourself in YTPs, YouTube poops? It is very weird to see myself memed.
Very surreal.
Yeah.
It's sort of uncomfortable in some ways just because this is an industry that we both care about. I'll speak selfishly for a second as well. Being involved in the industry outside of the heist stuff and then also having the heist stuff existing sort of separately is a very weird dichotomy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Tristan's got to get these guys ring lights. Yeah. I'm ready for my close-up, Tristan.
Yes. Yeah, that's a hard one. The weird parasocial relationships. I mean, I know Mark has talked about this. Like, I've gone to pretty much every tourist ride I've gone to in the last 3 years, I get recognized.
Yeah.
And that's weird.
It's very strange. It's not an entirely bad feeling.
No, it's not bad at all.
It's a strange feeling to have somebody that you've never met before or don't recognize walk up to you and greet you and greet you by name. It's very strange.
Yeah. And what's weird is that I remember watching other YouTubers talk about this 5 years ago before Mark started doing the YouTube thing and being like, that's weird. How would you ever feel that way? And now it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
Oh, yeah. It do be like that.
I feel bad a lot of the time because I am terrible with faces and names especially. And so I will generally be able to recognize if it is somebody that I've met before and who I know. But I will struggle oftentimes, even with people that I know reasonably well and have spent a decent amount of time with. Like, I did it to poor CJ a couple years ago. I did it to George earlier this year in February. George Sapp. I didn't recognize George at a distance. I had to get close enough to realize, oh, duh.
Well, was he wearing pants or shorts?
He was wearing shorts, but I couldn't see the flip flops because he was standing behind something.
Right, you didn't see the safety sandals.
I didn't see the safety sandals.
Yeah. So, one more question for you, Brett. And I say this because I know somebody else who's purchased a Model TT truck.
Oh God, why?
Historical reenactment stuff. But what experience and advice do you have for people who want to restore a Model T aside from don't?
Restore a Model T, not a TT.
Yes.
The TTs are cool. The TTs are annoyingly difficult to get certain parts for.
Can you explain the difference between these two for people unaware?
The Model T is the Model T. The Model TT is the truck version of the Model T. It had a little bit heavier frame. It had a worm drive, low ratio rear end. They had different rear tires, which are very difficult and very expensive to shop for. And a lot of the body components are getting harder and harder to come by, door latches, things like that. Normal Model Ts, there are enough out there that they are pretty easy to get pieces for. The TTs can be a little annoying sometimes. The other thing is when you have the TT and it's restored, it is too slow even to drive around in a neighborhood, really. Like 20 miles an hour in a TT is really pushing it. That is as fast as it will go.
Yeah. Apparently this one's got a high-speed rear end on it, so it can do like 35, which sounds objectively terrifying.
Earl says, I dare you to find a Bendix Westinghouse F12 air compressor. Speaking of annoyingly hard to find. You know, I'm not at all surprised by that. Finding normal Bendix stuff of the right vintage can be difficult. Bendix Westinghouse air compressor sounds... Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know how to find streetcar parts. That is a whole nother world of train preservation that I don't know a lot about, and it just kind of scares me.
I really like the trolley stuff. I'm learning this about myself. It's all really cool, but it's such a different niche that I couldn't really do anything with it. Not to mention, there's not a whole lot of it out here. Well, there's some with the Denver trolley, but it's non-historic. And then there's the car at Lakewood, car 25, I think it is, but it only runs once a year.
Yeah. There's more surviving streetcar stuff. Allegedly, the DNIM box cabs went to Argentina after that service was banned, and I want to believe that one of those cars still exists. One of those box cabs still exists down there.
Which ones? The standard gauge ones or the Cape gauge ones?
I don't know. I think the narrow gauge one. I think the standard gauge one. Sorry. I want one of those to exist so bad, but I know there are only like 3 of them, and we have the pantograph for one of them. We
do.
So unlikely.
Bannon's right. They do. There was also Fort Collins Municipal Railway. That FOCO is a ways away, although I do wish I spent more time in Fort Collins. I do very much like Fort Collins.
Yeah. Somebody asked me, are there any DNRGW passenger cars going into production in the near future? Yes. Look out for something from Heist Models pretty soon.
Plug.
And I'm working on some other bullshit too. So, one last question. Let's pick something out of the bucket for both me and Brett.
Bucket.
Bucket. Talk about, how did the 3/4 of one idiot come to be? How did we become such good friends with Mark? So I guess I'll start with my Mark origin story, because I met him first. So I did a thing in college called Train Shirt Tuesday, where I had a selection of shirts with trains on them that I wore on Tuesdays because I was not concerned about trying to get laid freshman year. But that's a different story.
It was a school of mines. You knew that wasn't happening anyway.
Yeah, and I was dating a really mean girl long distance, and that was just not gonna happen.
Oh, I didn't know you two were still together at that point.
Oh yeah, no, that was like freshman year. Was like that's the origin. Yeah, I made a mistake. Mistakes were made, and that's why I went.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's how I lost 50 pounds in 3 months. But I was wearing a shirt with a train on it, and Mark walked up to me and went, "You like trains?" And then we started talking, and then we became friends. And then he talked about wanting to volunteer at the Railroad Museum. I'd already been doing it. This was late first semester freshman year, and I finally dragged him out there. Like at one point, Mike, the great Stromboli, was talking about like, don't bring that Mark guy around. He keeps flaking out. He's not going to work out. And then I have to do some convincing, and then Mark comes out, and then the rest is history. But that's how I met Mark. We actually went through a period where we were roommates together, and then we had a falling out. We didn't get along with each other due to some interpersonal.
You were exiled from the museum.
I was exiled from the museum due to previously mentioned crazy narcissists. And then we started talking again, and now we're business partners. So how did we become such good friends? Well, we like trains, and we just clicked.
Having the commonality of minds probably helps to some extent.
Yeah.
We're
Islands!
Not only are we all very similar age-wise, but we were very similar at that point in time of kind of what we were facing and what we were doing with life. Very similar circumstances, so that was kind of a natural glumming together.
Yeah.
There were also
we went through the same trauma together, both at the museum and at mines.
There are so many ways you could sugarcoat it. That's probably the easiest, and it's slightly reductive to put it that way. But yeah, it's like that is accurate.
Yeah, we had the same professors. We took the same classes. Wait, Tristan was a knife's edge away from going to mines in 2014? You poor sweet summer child. You made the right decision, but also you made the wrong decision.
Life's funny like that, huh?
Yeah, well, if you've got a wife and kids, you did something right.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the answer is mines and the museum. Those two things are how the three of us met.
Yeah.
In, different combinations. They're kind of how we grew to know each other, and they're sort of the reasons that we became such good friends, even though both of those institutions now play much smaller roles in all three of our lives, just as a product of, we've grown up.
Time. Yeah. Although that being said, I have inquired to old professors of, hey, if I wanted to come back in adjunct, could that be a thing? And I have been told I'm welcome to go back in adjunct. So who knows, maybe in a couple of years I'll be a professor at mines, which is weird.
It would be really neat to do that. I've thought about, I had a number of professors there that were, they just have a bachelor's degree, but they've worked in the industry, and it's like I would really be interested. I wonder if there would be any value in going back and teaching something, if anybody would be able to find value in that, or if it would just be an ego exercise.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the best classes I had were the ones with the people with a lot of industry experience. And going like,
definitely the same.
Yeah, this is what's important. This is what you need to learn, and this is the difference between the two.
Yeah, this is what the textbook says. This is how you reference it in the field, because that is what engineering really is. Is looking up either lookup tables or standard practice SOPs, whatever it is. Most of the time, it is referencing standards of some sort.
Yeah. Learn how to find things.
Yeah.
So, well, we've been at this for 2.5 hours. I think my social battery is pretty well drained. How's yours, Brett?
Yeah, I'm about there with you. It's been fun, though. I hope there's been some value in all this. The chat seemed to kind of light up when we were talking about, working in the shop and coming into the preservation scene. So maybe we should lean on that a little bit more heavily next time we do this, if we get a next time.
Yeah. No, I think Mark's going to go on vacation again at some point, and we might have to do this crap. So,
well, that's the thing, is often when he goes on vacation, we go with him these days.
Well, that's a fair.
Maybe that'll happen later this year. We haven't scheduled our boys trip for 2026.
Yeah. We bought inner tubes last year, but did not go inner tubing in Gunnison. So we need to fix that.
We do need to go.
If there's any water in the Gunnison River to be had this summer, that's it's fine.
Assuming the entire front range doesn't burn down.
It's
fine. That's the end of the video.
And on that bombshell, good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
Now we figure out if Leighton knows